This is the best episode of the whole show so far. Yeah, I'm not going to bury the lead or any of that. This was the maybe the best thing Vanguard's put in front of us. I'm sure many of you are thinking to yourself, what the fuck is with this guy? Last week he's literally criticizing every minute detail and saying how dumb it is and how poorly executed it is and how none of it works or any of it makes sense. How the hell can he then be this positive? And to which case I'd say, because I read like every comment on that video and I loved them. I really enjoyed hearing everyone's interpretation, how they see the text being presented to us, and how they articulated it. Some really great takes there and some really great ideas. They don't, though, change how I viewed what happens, but I did still love hearing everyone's ideas. Yeah, but they don't change anything for me. I still think everything up until this point has been a goddamn fucking mess. And you know what? I just don't care. Because everything about this was done right. Everything was presented correctly, and everything came together in the best way possible. And honestly, a lot of it affected me personally. So we're going to talk about all this. We will try and squeeze this into one 10-ish minute YouTube video. And we've already wasted a minute 30. Fuck, let's get to it. So this episode opens with immediately telling us how it is different. And that is by showing us how Yu is different. Up until this point, Yu has been a very kind of like non-factor protagonist, so to speak. And what I mean by that is he doesn't really influence the plot much. Everything that's happened to this point has happened rather he's there or not. He just kind of gets involved where he can and helps where he can. And that makes him pretty endearing. He's very likable. I also like the fact that he's not a typically sort of masculine protagonist like what you see in Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot. He is this soft-spoken, very feminine in kind of appearance and kind of the way he just is in general. Which is something they do with like Aichi, but it definitely feels like more of a strong factor in the characterization with him. And to see that this episode opens with him seeming just so much stronger and facing forward and ready to deal with things and ready to be the person who will make the change rather than just kind of be there and get involved where he can, that he is directly going to look the problem in the face and deal with it, not because it's easy, but because he has to, because the people he cares about are at stake. And in order to help them, he has to be that person. I think is a really great thing to see happen. And it's made even better by the fact that Tamari, a legit grown woman, and again, I love the way they utilize the different ages of everyone in this show, but this person who is older and therefore often takes it upon herself to kind of guide everyone and sort of be the leader when she needs to be, to see her then say to Yu, it's up to you, you have to do this, I think is a really good moment to show you where he's at and where this is going. But then, naturally, the card fight starts between him and Urara. And another really smart thing they do is they immediately show the difference between how Yu is handling things and how Tamari handled things. Now, the way Tamari handled things, I think, is how most people would react in this situation. She's a combination of scared, concerned, a little angry, unsure of this very bizarre thing being put in front of her, and she reacts in kind. She's very aggressive in the fight. She's very much talking to Urara like, this isn't you, this is unnatural, you need to stop now, this, please listen to me, you need to do as I'm telling you, you need to not be this. And the thing is, when dealing with people who are involved in cults or any kind of like, I guess mind alteration would be like a general term, but any sort of like brainwashing type group or situation like what's being presented in front of us, that's not really what you want to do. The thing is, what ends up attracting people to these sorts of groups or these sorts of like mindsets is that they don't feel a sense of fulfillment in their regular everyday life. Rather, that's due to low self-esteem, bad relationships, not feeling like you fit in anywhere, inadequacy, all these issues. These groups are then able to come in and twist things and make people feel like they are here for them, that they understand that if you conform to our ideas and do what we say, we will make you feel that. And then they succeed. And then when someone goes in there and tries to tell them once again that you don't belong to this is wrong, what you're feeling is wrong, this feeling that you finally belong or are understood is wrong, that's only going to reinforce the desire to follow the sort of gaslit or implanted mentality that person has now been given. And that's effectively what happened in that episode. But when Yu fights Urara, it's very much this sense of like, I'm happy you feel strong. I'm happy you feel like people are now understanding you in a way you feel they didn't. I'm happy they could communicate this to you and you now feel this strength, but hear me out. I love Yu Yu's presentation and everything. Yu Yu's actor is so fucking good in this. Urara's is great too, by the way. Really solid performances. They carry the whole thing. But just this idea that Yu Yu is coming from it from this place of understanding, this place of, I get why you feel this way. And again, just the way he shows emotion and vulnerability, and the way that this catches Urara off guard, and why that's then able to communicate to her and start seeing through to her. It's because it makes it that she can't retreat back to that. She now has to address things because she's now being told, well, what do you want? I understand you, I believe you, and I want to help you. When that is then presented to the person, they now start losing that ability to follow the cult mindset, which, as we see, actually angers her. It makes her very frustrated because now she's starting to think of things differently. And all this accumulates in the beautiful scene inside her mind. When we saw during her turn, when she did her plays, she saw this like big, cool, epic fight going on, this grandiose dark field as she gave in to these darker emotions and feelings inside her. To then have Yu Yu come in and be able to show her what's really going on in her head, to see that everything that is unique about her has been stripped away and that all that's left is that sterile grayish white walls of the uniformer lab, is such a powerful moment. When Yu Yu says, do you still hear the voice in your head? Do you still hear the sound that makes you you? Do you still hear that? Do you still have that feeling of how far you've come, how you owned up to your uniqueness and was able to start learning to control it and grow with it? Is that still there? Is what makes you you, you, is that desire still within you? And to see that her reaction when it was all stripped away, when she stopped thinking about how cool this was and saw it for what it was, to see that it was gone. It was replaced by not her, by this computer program. And rather you're like me and think of it from the more science fiction perspective of they literally altered her brain chemistry, or you just think of it as she's basically been trained like a dog. I think it's a really strong, powerful image when she sees that mirror and sees that sad, lonely girl who doesn't feel she's good for anything, who doesn't feel she'll amount to anything. That girl is still there and she's crying. And the only way to fix it is to embrace who you are. What makes you you. I know I said that already, but I like it. To then be that's what frees her from this, not losing the card fight, that it wasn't the literal, this doesn't make you stronger, that it was, you're not happy, that you're not accomplishing your goals anymore. You're just doing what they want you to do. You're not feeling like yourself anymore. I thought was really beautiful and made for a really great episode. And I loved the way the minute she understood this and let herself be herself again, you saw just like the beautiful images return to her and she embraced who she was and the music. And even though she lost, she feels like herself again, and that she can go on that journey is really great. Also, I just love the bit when she tried to talk to the other girl and be like, you're still my friend, right? She's like, nah, fuck you, bitch. That was just great. But yeah, this is very beautiful. And I'd like to just end. I know we're at 10 minutes, but let me talk. I would like to just end with something very personal. So, the big sort of theme here is, of course, the idea of giving up your uniqueness for strength. And I feel that and while I really don't like the way this is often done in card game anime, because oftentimes the representation of this is don't play good, just play with whatever dumb, silly thing you want. I don't think that's what really makes card games fun. What makes card games fun, for me at least, is that it doesn't matter what your physical strength is. It doesn't matter if you're like super knowledgeable or anything, but the idea that you can develop your own unique style and then seek out the deck that fits that best. That's also the other problem is in card game anime, they have to stick to the same deck all the time. They don't change or look for a deck that best reflects their style. That's always going to be a big problem in these. But effectively, that's why I like these. That's why I like to do card games, because I feel like I can express myself through a hobby and activity in a way that I don't necessarily feel I can get from something else. I like to be competitive. I like to come up with my own unique ideas and try them out. But what's most important is that I found people who encourage that. I found a group of friends who are there to say, go for it, try your ideas. We will be here to help you. We'll be here to help you come up with new ideas going forward, and we will always support you as friends. That is something I am very thankful to have in my life, and it came from card games. And I like the fact that this episode, and I guess in by extension, where this arc is supposed to be about, is that idea is that that is what this can do for you. This idea that you need to find people who will support you and support your unique style while also helping you learn to get good and learn new strategies and push you forward is important. And it made for a very just satisfying experience. Now, could this all go to shit again next week the minute we start going back to plot? Fuck yes. Do I think that by making it that you could get her back like this just through a strong pep talk, does this potentially lessen the threat of the bad guys? Also, yes, especially considering I don't find them threatening as is. Also, I feel like the thing with Michiru at the end proves my theory that it is their beaming shit into people's brains. But that's really not what's important. What is important is that for this episode, I genuinely had a great experience and loved every second of it. But what did you think? In the comments section below, give me your thoughts about this episode. As for the Vanguard question of the week, I gotta wrap this up. So Azel's coming back. I somehow missed this news until like yesterday, which makes me happy. For those of you who don't know, Azel is actually my favorite unit. So seeing him get more support is always going to make me happy, especially if it's good in premium. But let me know, has your favorite unit gotten a legend deck new form? Are you hoping it does, or would you rather it stay where it is? Because I can definitely see that argument too. But give me your thoughts about that in the comment section below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and I have nothing else to say. I genuinely loved this.